This is definitely the biggest crowd we have ever had for a basic training working group, so I'm very excited about that. Again, today's focus is going to be specific to feature layers and markers within Ops Hub and the mobile application. So I think what we'll do is we'll go ahead and get started. I'm going to turn my camera off, and I'm going to hop over to the screen that we are looking at, which is the basic landing page of the DroneSense South account. I'm going to jump over into Operations Hub. Now, I want to talk through feature layers today. Obviously, that is our focus. And feature layers can kind of be taken from a three-tiered approach. So over in the top right-hand corner, very top icon is our map layer manager. Opening this up gets us into our feature layers. Everything we're going to focus on today is feature layers. We will not be discussing Esri layers or Esri integration today. That'll come in a future training. But feature layers can be handled in several different ways. Feature layers can be applied at the organization level, meaning that they're available organization-wide for everyone to see. They can be applied at the mission level, so specific to specific missions. They can be individual feature layers, which will only be visible to you when you log into Ops Hub. Or there's also the functionality to share mission layers between missions that have been shared with you, similar to utilizing the mission code, basically for interoperability. But within feature layers, there's several different functions. So we're going to start today at the organization level of feature layers. And you can see that this organization has no layer. So everything we're going to do is starting from scratch. This should be the exact workflow that you guys who have never used this functionality will follow. So we're going to come up here in the top and we're going to create a new feature layer. And we're going to call this Feature Layer Training 101. And I'm going to allow all my teams to see it. And I'm going to show the labels on the map, and I'm going to click Create. And now you see we have this new feature layer at the organization level, but it doesn't have any features. So what are those features that are available to us to apply to this layer? I'm going to click into the layer itself, and you'll see we have no features within this layer. But up here at the top, we have a little plus symbol that's going to start letting us add features. So when we click into this, you'll see we get several new tools. We have the ability to add a point feature or a marker, the ability to create a polyline. We have a polygon feature, a square, a circle, and also the ability to import from a file, which is one of the newer functions that we're actually not going to talk about today. We're just specifically going to focus on shapes, polylines, and markers. So starting with markers, if I click on the point feature, this is going to open up our Symbology section. And as you can see, there are close to 1,000 different symbols that are available for you guys to utilize in your feature layers. These are all public safety standard symbols from the National Wildland Coordinating Group's 936 Symbology library, as well as a company called Iron Sights that makes, again, standardized symbology. So if I just scroll through some of these, starting with USAR, you'll see we have 25 different USAR symbols that are available to us. Things from animal hazards to blocked or no access, flood hazards, hazardous materials, human moraines, an LZ, structural damage, destroyed structures, failed structures, etc. And again, this is just within the USAR symbols. We have a whole section on access hazards, an entire section on pre-plans. Those of you from the fire service side of the house, these should all look incredibly familiar to you. We have an entire section on resources, NIMS positions, human-caused hazards, public alerts, incidents, natural hazards, hazardous materials, lifelines, infrastructure, and hazards. Again, these are available across every single account. So you will all have access to these symbols. So what are we going to do with these symbols? How are we going to utilize these symbols in a way that they are valuable to us? So what you can see is I've snapped to my location. I'm going to come into the USAR symbols, and I'm going to take this blocked or no access symbol, and I'm going to drop it on the map here in my neighborhood. Again, this is a organization level feature layer. So that means this will be applied at the org level. Anyone within the organization will have access to see this symbol, this layer. We can add a name. We can change the description if we want to. As soon as we click save, you can see that this symbol is dropped on the map. But where is the value in just seeing the symbol on the map? We can also see these symbols across platform on the mobile application, as well as other users. So a lot of ways that this can be shared across your organization and even beyond. So start again, going back with our symbols. I'm just going to come in and I'm going to drop a few more on the map here. We'll do an animal hazard over here. We can add some targeted search. And let's see, we'll do a targeted search on this property right here. And we'll save that. Again, this is at the org level, and this is just the symbology piece. Let's take this a step further and look into some of the polylines and polygon functions. So again, coming into my feature, add new feature, and you'll see we'll start with a polyline. Before we can start utilizing the polyline feature, we have to create our own custom style lines. There's no limit to how many styles you can have, but that's going to be the first step. So you can see, because I don't have any styles listed, I'm going to come and hit this create custom line style, and I'm going to come in and I'll just I'm going to draw a line on the map. Oh, excuse me, let me delete that. The custom line from here to here. And I'll double click and I'm going to go next. And now this is where I can adjust the style itself. So you can see we can have dotted and dashed lines of several different styles. We can give the end cap a shape. We can apply the number of pixel width if we want to. We can give any color to the line as well as the level of transparency of that line. We can add end caps to be arrows if we need to, or several different symbols, as you can see here. We can add end color to the lines, and we can add points on where those end placements are. Are those going to be on both ends or on one end? Again, if we're drawing just an arrow that we want to identify something, we can just do an arrow at one end. Completely up to you on how you customize these line styles. So I'm going to say both. I like the way this line looks. I'm going to hit next, and I'm going to give it a name, and we'll call this line style number 1, or we could come in and call this search area. Click save. And now you'll see we have this new line style here on the map. So I'm going to back out real quick, come in here and delete this base off of us, escape. And now when I come back into the line tool, you'll see we have this search area lined out. So I can come in now, I can use this search area line, and I can outline a specific search area if I want to. So we'll outline our search area. And now we have this on the map. Sorry about my mouse with the zoom here. I'll click save. And now you see our search area line on the map. The same functionality with creating custom line styles also applies to our polygon features. If I come in to add a polygon, the first thing I have to do is create a custom style. And you'll see, just like with the line, we get a very similar set of steps. So I'll draw my polygon here. Next, I'll come in. Again, I can change the outline style, the width of the outline line, the width of the outline color. I can change the fill style, whether I want it to be solid or some sort of gradient. I can change that fill color as well as the transparency. Once I have what I like, I'll hit next, and we'll call this area, no-fly zones. Now I have this new style here on the map. I click into it, and now I can draw out a custom polygon. And once I double click there at the end, now you'll see I have this no-fly zone here on the map. Again, sorry about my Zoom here. My mouse is kind of having some issues today, so I'm going to try to just use my trackpad. Again, no limit to how many custom line styles or how many polyline styles you can create. And the same goes for shapes as well. So now that I have these features saved, if I came in and I wanted to add a shape, you'll see that same polygon style for shapes as well as for circles. And again, we can come up with as many creative line styles, creative polygon styles as we choose, and they will be persistent within the platform. So think about that. We can get as in the weeds with what we're showing on the map at the org level, from aerial hazards to access hazards. We can go in and document things around our entire call area into a feature level. Again, this was at the org layer. So now what I want to do is I'm going to back out of this org layer feature. I'm going to turn this one off, and I'm going to come into a mission feature layer. So over here on the left-hand side in Mission Manager, if I click into the mission, many of you have probably seen this second item as map layers. You'll see we automatically have this feature layer training mission layer created, but there's no features added. So just like we did at the org level, we can come in and we can start adding features. And again, these features are the same iconography and the same polygons and polylines that we saw at the org level. These are now just applied to the mission level. So for example, if I come in and I start adding some damage structure features to these properties here, simply by using the iconography. As I add those, real quick, if I jump over to my iPad screen, which is what you guys are seeing right now, you can see those same structural damage icons here on the mobile application that we have back here in Ops Hub. So everything we apply at the mission layer will then be seen within that mission on the map within the mobile application. So if I was to come in now and start adding a polyline for a search area that I wanted my pilot in the field to go out and search, I'm going to draw this area out over here. Search area. Once I click save, if I switch back over real quick again to my iPad screen, you can see I have this search area outlined within my iPad. So this really steps up the level of situational awareness and communication back and forth between the mobile application and Operations Hub. Now, obviously, there's a lot of value in being able to have this kind of functionality on the Ops Hub side, but what is available to us on the mobile application side that applies to feature layers? How can we provide additional information as pilots in the field back to incident command or whoever is viewing this information on the Ops Hub side of things? So what I'm going to do is switch over, I'm going to stay here with my iPad screen, and we're going to talk about some of the markers that are available to you here in the mobile application. Understand that right now markers are just limited to our iOS app, but our Android developers are working tirelessly to get this functionality into our Android builds as well, and we hope to be releasing that very soon. But right now, as you see, I am in the map view on the mobile application. Over there on the left-hand side, just under the notification icon or the bell icon, you can see some of our a little marker indicator. So if I click that, this is going to open up the markers that we have access to within the mobile application. Now, before we rolled this functionality out, we sat down and we tried to come up with the 10 markers that we thought were most important to our users. We polled our Facebook user group, and these were the 10 markers that we came up with. So these are the markers that you will have available on the iOS builds of the app to drop on the map. So as we're flying along, let's say we're flying up here in this search area that was dropped to us by either dispatch or incident command or someone on the operations side of things. And as we're flying this search area, we discover a victim, or we discover what we're looking for. So I'm going to come in, take this victim detected icon, and I'm going to drop it on the map. And if I jump back in here to the ops hub side of things, you can see that as soon as I dropped it on the map, here it is within operations hub. And maybe, as we're flying along, we also find, another victim in this area. And as soon as I drop it on the map, boom, you see it appears here on the operations hub side of things. We can also, again, we understand that 10 icons is not a lot compared to what you have available on the operations side of things. So maybe those 10 markers don't exactly work for what you need, but what you do have the ability to do is to come in here and change the text that you're surfacing to ops hub. So if I click on one of these icons, I can come in here to the info button where it says victim detected. If I want to, I can edit this to say, whatever I want. You say, patient here. Confirm. And then, again, you can see it's changed here in the mobile application. And if I make let's see, I need to make my features available. Boom. Change that. And if we zoom down to our victim, you can see patient here. So a little bit more functionality on the operations hub side of things, but we still tried to give you as much functionality as we could on the on the mobile platform to make this functionality valuable to you. Maybe one day in the future we'll have the ability to use the polygon and polyline tool on the mobile app, but for right now it's just these 10 markers. And I did say that this functionality is not yet available on Android. However, I'm going to turn my camera on real quick and just show you my smart controller screen. Even though we can't necessarily add markers via Android apps yet, we can still see all the functionality that gets dropped on the map, whether it's from Ops Hub or the mobile application. So at the very least right now, you'll still have that situational awareness piece to see what's being dropped to you in Ops Hub and to see, potentially what other pilots flying on the iOS side of things are putting on the ground. What I'd like to do now is pause here just for a minute. I know we've kind of thrown a lot of information out. So I want to take a pause here and see what kind of questions we have. Coit has a question. So we'll, Coit, go ahead, buddy.
Yeah. Hey, so this is kind of intimidating looking. Like there's a lot going on here, and man, you make it look super easy. Is there anything that I start messing around with this? Is there anything I'm going to screw up? I mean, can I hurt anything? Is there anything that's just going to I really need to be careful of, or is this is something we just need to get out and practice with?
Yes, so that's a great question. Luckily, there's nothing that can be broken here. Everything we've put in place, we can go in and undo. We can get back to a very clean slate here. If I start coming in and deleting these markers, I can very quickly get us back to an absolutely blank slate. And realistically, if we wanted to, I can come in and I can delete the entire feature layer, and this starts us back at square one. And the same goes for those org level feature layers. If I turn this on, I can delete that entire layer. So don't feel like if you come in here and start playing around with this functionality that, as you drop all these items on the map, that they're not going to be, able to be deleted. You can clear this information out. As you see, you can essentially nuke each layer. My best practice, I think, for you guys would be, if you want to play around with this on the operations hub side specifically, without kind of the back and forth piece between the mobile application and Ops Hub, just come in and utilize the My Feature layer. Again, this would be a layer that would only be visible to your specific login. It's not going to be something available to anyone else on your account unless you choose to share it. So Brian Kramer had a great question. if we create a layer in the wrong mission, can we share it with another mission? And the answer is yes. So for example, if we got this feature layer here, if I came in, you can see we can send all these features to another layer. I can select, again, it can be at the user level or at the mission level. So a lot of ways this can be shared, and the same sharing functionality also applies to sharing layers outside of your organization. So if you're working on a joint operation with another DroneSense agency, you're going to be able to have the ability to share feature layers to that mission that was shared with you, and vice versa. So again, it allows for a ton of collaboration and gives a lot more situational awareness functionality to you guys. What other questions do we have on the feature layer functionality? Again, we could get incredibly in the weeds with how specific of information we're not only showing to Operations Hub, but also the information we're showing to the mobile app. So for example, coming back in here on the web console, I'm going to add another feature, and let's say I want to add a new poly style. I'm going to create a new line. I'll just draw it on the map real quick. And we'll come in, we'll make this a heavy dashed line that's 5 pixels wide, red, no transparency, no end cap style, no end color. I'm going to take this down just a little bit, then I'm a 3 here. And we can call this, flight boundary. Save. Now we have this flight boundary area. So if we're just working with one specific pilot, we want to give him an area to stay in. We can do that as well. So we create this this flight boundary. But let's think about this a different way. What if we're working an operation where we have multiple pilots, and we want multiple pilots to be multiple pilots to have multiple flight areas? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come into another mission here. I'm going to come into this emergency response ops, come into this specific layer here. And what I'll do is I'm going to add a polyline style using this flight boundary. I'll put a flight boundary on the map here. And once I have it outlined, I'm going to edit this and call this flight boundary for, pilot, Bondo. We'll just do Bondo. Save. Make sure that this features is shown on map. This is what's going to allow the information that we type in to be shown on the map. So we established this flight boundary for John Doe. Our John Doe pilot in the field is going to see that information and know, okay, this is his flight boundary. We can then come in, create an additional poly shape, and we'll do, again, same style here. But for this one, what we'll do is we'll make it a dash line, but we'll make it blue. We'll do that same 3 next, and we'll call this, flight boundary for Jane Doe. Save. And now I can come in, take this flight boundary, I can put another area for another pilot to fly over here. If they know their call sign, or if we're just simply calling them by name, they're going to see this information appear on the map and know that, hey, this is the area that they should be flying in. This is their area of operations. Now, understand that just by sending this out to them, this isn't going to do any kind of geofencing or anything like that. This is simply just a visual cue for the area that we want them to fly in. But if we kind of took this a step further, once they saw this flight area, they could then use some of the flight planning functionality on the mobile application to go, create a search and rescue pattern or a mapping mission within their specific flight boundary. And again, there's no limit to how many different styles of lines, how many different flight boundaries, etc., that we can create within the platform. So you can really, really get deep into the weeds with how detailed you can be showing, again, on the mobile application or on the Ops Hub side of things. I had a few questions come through here. I'm going to try to So let's see. Brendan Thetford, I know you mentioned already not talking about Esri layers, but is it planned or is it possible for Esri layers to be viewed inside of the pilot app? So this is something that we are getting a lot of requests for. It is something that is on our radar, but it's not something that I have a timeline on yet. As soon as I have some additional information, Brandon, I'll make sure that we share that out with you. And then Eric Thompson asked, is there a limit to the number of features you can or should add to a layer? And that's a great question. So there is no limit to the number of features you can have on a specific layer, the number of line types, of polyline types, the number of shapes, etc. And best practice, that's another great question. I know we have some agencies, some of our larger organizations out in Texas specifically are using these with very, very great detail. So for me, I guess it's just going to be figuring out what works best for you and your organization as to how you set this information up. So guys, that pretty much ends the outline of utilizing feature layers and how we can use the feature layers and the markers between the mobile application and the Ops Hub side of things. The biggest thing for you all to remember for feature layers that you want to see on the on the mobile app side of things, you need to create those at the mission level. And so when you come in to mission creation, you're going to want to turn this feature layer on or off, depending on if you want to see those features. And that'll apply for each mission that is created here. If we don't have that turned on, we're not going to see those feature layers. So again, at the mission level, if we want to see them, if we want to see markers coming from the mobile application, we have to turn the mission feature layer visibility on in Ops Hub. And if we want our feature layer that we're creating in Ops Hub to be seen on the mobile app side of things, it has to be done at the mission level. Layers can be shared, whether they're at the org level, the my feature layer level, or the mission layer. They can be shared to other missions. They can be shared to the org level. They can also be shared out. Again, if you have a mission code that you're a part of, they can be shared that way. But for viewing on the mobile app, you need to make sure that you have your mission layer visibility turned on. That's one of the biggest takeaways. That's what we hear a lot from the field with people that are already using this functionality. We get calls that are saying, hey, my pilots are dropping markers. I'm not seeing them in Ops Hub. And it's because they don't have that mission layer visibility turned on. Again, this recording will be available via our YouTube channel and our website. I will follow up as soon as we get that posted. But thank you all for tuning in today. This was a great group. I really hope that we continue to see these same numbers as we move in to the next 10 weeks of topics. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, topic recommendations, anything along those lines, feel free to email me directly, joshua@dronesense.com, and we'll do our best to include that in some of our future trainings. Again, thank you all for your time today. If you need anything for any reason, you can reach out to any member of our team, and we'll do our best to get you squared away. And with that, we will end today's basic training session. Thank you all.